Okay, this is an introduction to section 401, and this chapter is about quadratics. We already know a little something about quadratics. We know that quadratic is anything with an x squared in it. We know that when we graph the parent graph of a quadratic equation, that it's y equals x squared and it's a parabola. Um, and so this chapter is just going to focus on different ways or different forms I can write in a quadratic equation and how my graph or my parabola can look differently, whether it's the parent graph with my vertex at 0, 0, or when I transform that or translate it somewhere else. So you should have the worksheet that says Quadratics Graphing Lab at the top. The first 5 questions look like this. And then at the top, if you will go to this web page, okay, then this is what will come up on the web page. So I'm just going to kind of make sure you understand what you're supposed to do. On the worksheet, it says after each step, note your observations. What do you see? So after each one, we're going to write down how whatever it asks us to do, how that affects our graph. Okay, so it says on number 1, set A equal to 1, B equal to 0, and C equal to 0. So what they're talking about, here's my A. Okay, my A is already 0, but yours isn't. See how if I slide it, my numbers change? So I need to set my A at 1 is what it says. So if I can get it back at 1, there's 1. B 0, C 0. Okay, and then here is my graph. All right, so it says after I set that, I'm supposed to write down what I see. So I see my parent graph. Okay, here's the equation, y equals 1x squared. So I'm going to write down um, the parent graph of y equals x squared. My vertex is right here, so is 0, 0. Okay. I don't know that there's a lot of anything else I can put on that. All right, so I'm going to click back over here. Set A to 1. So now A is 1. And what do I see? Hold on 1 second. Okay, so it told me to set it at A. So it's at A. Here's my graph. Now I'm going to set A to 2. There's 2. Here's my new graph. And here's set A at 3. There's my new graph. Okay, so let's see, the one that they're showing me is in red. So see how it's moving? So it says slide back and forth, and what do you see? So here it is at 3 as I get closer and closer to 1. So the bigger the number, the bigger A is, what happens to your graph? The skinnier it gets. Do you see that when I slide it back and forth? Okay, so there's 1. So over here, the bigger A gets, it's kind of hard to do this. The bigger A is, the skinnier or narrower my graph. And back when we were talking about when our graph was moving, we used the word stretched and compressed. This would be stretched. So I'm going to write the word stretched on there. Okay, 3 says set A at 0. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to set A at 0. A is 0. Remember my graph is this red line. When A is 0, what do I get? Whoops. And I get, oh, it won't let me stay. You're going to get a straight line if I can. I don't know if it'll let me type it in there either. So let me see if I can move this. There it is. When a is 0, I get a straight line. Okay, so I just want to do the first few with you so you could kind of see what they're wanting you to do. So that says set a at 0.25, so my a is 0.25. Okay, what do you see? So remember, my parent graph is in blue. The red graph is what you are doing. So it makes it wider, okay? Or what word would we use instead of stretched? It would be compressed, okay? 0.25 and then at 0.5. All right, so I'll let you write down what you see. There's 0.25. The graph is wider. Or compressed. And the same thing with 0.5. Okay. The closer to 0 that it gets, do you see the wider it's going to get, the closer to 0? Okay, slide A freely and no opposites like 3 and -3. What does it change in the red graph? What does A change in the red graph? So let's do +3. So A is +3. Okay, there's my red graph. So it's skinnier than my parent graph. A is -3. So look, that -3 is that same graph as +3, but it's flipped over the x-axis. Okay, so play with it a little bit. I'm gonna let you write down your answer, and then you're gonna do the rest of the worksheet just by changing the values. It's gonna tell you what to change the values to, and then you're gonna answer the questions. When you get to problem number 12 on your worksheet, okay, problem 12, let me see if I have it on here. All right, problem 12 looks like this. Notice points D, E, F, G, and H. Slide A, B, and C to fit line to the data. Plot data points below. Okay, so let me see. Notice points, slide A, B, and C to fit line to data. Okay, so here's all of our points. So they want me to change. Okay, there's my graph to go through point D. Let's see if I can see how you can change B. So I may have to play with this and see exactly what they're wanting as the answers, but here are the points that they're talking about. Okay, and you can actually change these points. So I'll have to answer those questions when I'm in class again. Okay, so I think if you'll just play around with the A, B, and C and answer the questions, and then I'll help you with number 12. Yeah, that last page, 12 through 17, we may have to look at together.